John Brooks, how are you doing?
Doing good.
Good. It's good to have you on the podcast. I've been looking forward to this for a minute. Um, we've been friends for how long have I known you for?
Well, I
When did
moved.
you when did you move here?
I moved here. Um, I got here about the beginning of May of 2020. So,
Interesting. It was about a year after I got here.
so about 6 years. 6 years, I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, look, um, before we get into this, let's do an icebreaker question. What's the last book you read?
Like physical.
Doesn't matter. You get Audible, physical, Kindle.
Well, um, it would be an audio book, but I haven't. Well, maybe I did actually listen to the whole thing through.
Oh, it don't matter. What
I
last book you read
did.
in?
Well, okay. So I was listening to. There's an old philosopher named Seneca.
Oh,
Like back around Jesus's day is when he was around, either a little bit afterward and we're talking like give or take a few hundred years, but either a little after or a little before
okay.
Jesus day. But yeah, and then I did start on another book about another old Stoic. I forget his name. They have such interesting names.
I'm not sure if I
Yeah.
remember. I don't know if I remember what Seneca's about. What's his deal? Like yeah.
He kind of just reminds me of, I don't know, he kind of just exists and writes his thoughts down.
Oh, like Marcus Aurelius type of a
I
thing.
haven't listened to him,
Oh,
so I don't know, or read anything.
interesting. What did you learn anything from this?
Well, I learned a little bit about philosophers. Just like it was interesting to, like, I don't know, I guess you had kind of have this thought in your head that philosophy is, I don't know, like a skill or something.
Hmm.
And like not anyone is a philosopher or could be a philosopher, but it was interesting how he was just. Oh, actually, one thing I did learn was how similar. So this would have been not written in English, so it's translated. Um, so I'm not entirely sure because they're gonna translate things a little interestingly, right? I mean, they're gonna old terms. They're
Yeah.
they're gonna use the modern terms to sort of explain. But this guy had a a house in a city somewhere. I don't remember the name of the city, but um, he had a house and he had a property manager, basically someone that
Oh,
took care of it for
I'm
him.
starting to remember this now. Yes, I'm starting to remember because
Did I tell you?
but some of the business guys talk about Seneca
Oh,
being the first guy into real estate.
yeah. He was because it's Letters of a Stoic, I believe, is the name of the book. Letters of or from, and he's messaging kind of like an apprentice, or he's writing these letters to like an apprentice of sorts, or some sort of apprentice is not the right word, but there's another word that's similar to apprentice.
I see.
But and that's who he's addressing these to. And like some days he'll just be talking about random things, and other days he's ranting.
Oh,
And it's actually just kind of a lot of like his letters are just like he'll just sort of have something that's been on his mind and he'll just rant
oh yeah,
about it or whatever.
a journal,
Yeah,
basically.
it kind of is.
Interesting.
But the one rant was he was firing his property manager because he was not he realized, or he found out that he was not taking care of like upkeep on the place, and it was in disrepair. And he's like, "What is the point of having one
Bit of a
if
crash
the guy's
out.
not even taking care of it?"
Right.
And
Interesting.
it was very interesting that like that seems like such a modern thing, and this is like 2,000 years ago. Like it was just very like you just 2,000 years ago. You think these people ran around in robes, and I don't know, just might as well be cavemen in some sense.
Yeah.
But it was very
Striking similarity.
yeah, it was relatable.
Oh yeah.
So I
Interesting.
found that interesting. But
Interesting. Well, look good. Look, that's interesting. I may have to look up Seneca. So look, one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on here is like I've been doing with some of these other guys, I want to get you to tell me your story, sort of how you what your life was before you met me. Um I find those stories very interesting. I find the stories interesting. The story of like the physical elements of how a person was raised, and then and then also sort of the, I guess the word that comes to me is the spiritual, the deeper things like, and then the problem is those are the things that are sort of difficult to talk about, but like the pains and what we learn from them and this sort of stuff, and it's extremely difficult to talk about, unfortunately. But um, I, I I find it very helpful. Like if listening to other people share their story, like even if I disagree with you on something, and then but then I was like, okay, look, I want to hear your story. Everyone's got a story, and you can, even if you don't agree, you can at least understand how they came to that conclusion. And so I
mhm.
find that fascinating. So um, I'd love to hear your story. Now, um, you have a very you have a of all of my friends and acquaintances, you might have one of the most sort of interesting pasts because you came from this, um, or you were born into this outfit called um, Lord Our Righteousness Church, right?
Mhm.
And this is very very fascinating to me because, for all intents and purposes, this is basically a cult, what is commonly known as, and so I wonder what that would be like to be born into a cult, like so. Because we put a lot of I put a lot of stock, or we often put a lot of stock in the way we were raised, and like I've known you since, like we talked about, for 6 years, and it's like you don't seem that damaged for having been raised in one of these extreme ideologies.
Right.
But anyway, so I'm very curious to hear your story, and one day I want to do an episode with you where we do a deep dive on the on that whole thing. But today I'm interested a lot in your story, you being raised in that, and like your relationship with it. Um, and so, in as much as you need to give detail about that whole outfit, please do that to give us the context. But yeah, I'd love to hear how your growing up years, and then you came to the realization. I think your family may have, or somewhere along the way, you departed from this. You personally did, and in that whole transition to where you are today, um, I think it'd be a very interesting story. So yeah, dive in. Where were you born?
Yeah, I'll try to I tend to get into the weeds easily. So
Yeah,
we'll
yes, I'll give you that. Yes, you do.
I'll try to keep it on track,
Yeah,
because it does I do tend to think that a lot of stuff is it's very much interconnected with like
yeah,
everything is very interconnected.
yeah, yeah. It is.
And so I'll try to parse through it a little bit and not get too sidetracked. But okay, so I was born in Arizona, um place called Queen Valley. haven't been there since, so I don't really know what's up as far as that location. But I
Interesting.
think it's pretty. I want to say it's pretty southern, like down there, pretty close to the Mexican border. But I also might be getting that mixed up. It's been a while since I looked it up on a map.
Gotcha.
But my older sister was born. I forget the name of
Queen
the
City,
valley.
Queen Valley. Jay, where's Queen Valley? Isn't it? Is it the south? Is on the south end of Arizona?
But my older sister was born. I forget the name of another town, but and so I might be mixing it up with that location.
Do
But
what? What did you say?
Yeah, I'm not finding it, man.
doesn't
Go to
exist.
go to Google Map.
I'm
Or is that not helping you?
just Google.
Just go to Google Maps.
Um,
10-4. Well,
we lived in Oregon. I believe it was Oregon at the time, technically, but we along with some other people moved. I don't know if moving is the right word, but we went to Arizona for the winter.
oh,
So sort of there's a term for people like that.
snow. Snowbirds? No.
That sounds close to right. Yeah. Anyway,
Something like that.
yeah. And I don't know who all, because it was us, and then there was other people, random people who in our church that went with,
Okay.
but not everyone. And like I said, my sister was born in Arizona, so this is sort of a thing that we did more than once. Anyway.
Gotcha.
And we're 2 years apart. About that, she was born in May, though. That's hardly winter, so I'm not really sure what was going on there. But dry camped is what we were doing down there, and I'm not entirely sure. I guess that just means so we would have been living in either some sort of camper or fifth wheel. We might have had a fifth wheel at that time. I lived in a fifth wheel for a good portion of my life. So, but I don't remember. Well, I wouldn't have any memory of that anyway. But I don't remember as in terms of just having been told or whatever what we lived in.
What is it? What does dry? What does dry camp
Well,
mean?
basically, you just don't have any hookups. So no water, no sewer. I guess nothing.
I see. What is that sound? This place flooding?
Get the
Speaking of dry camping, there's a sound of
not dry.
something not dry
Yeah.
bubbling around.
Yeah.
Anyway, oh, you know what it is?
Everything's good.
Okay.
No water. Has
What-
that happened before?
Yeah. I'm not sure what causes it, but yeah, stuff bubbles around in there. But anyway, all right. So you were raised in Arizona, or you spent your young years in Arizona, going snowbirding to, or whatever the word is, down to Arizona.
Well, I don't remember. I don't have any memory of Arizona, which I wouldn't necessarily anyway. But I don't know if we went down there again or not. I almost want to say after I was born, we didn't go back down there, but maybe we did once.
Oh, gotcha.
But
Maybe coffee will make you remember better.
yeah,
Or aren't you going to drink coffee?
no, I should.
Yeah. See.
We lived up in. It gets very foggy, and once once we get to the year 2000, I was born in 96. Once we
Okay.
get to the year 2000, things will be a little easier to put together. But
Okay.
I have very few memories of before 2000 because I would have been 4
Yeah. Up to
minus.
4.
But we lived in Oregon some, and we lived in Idaho. So we lived in
Okay.
Sandpoint, Idaho for a while, and then we also lived in at least one place in Oregon. I don't really know if it's I don't really know that there's a town that really associates with the place.
Oh, in the BFE.
Well,
Probably shouldn't say that
it was more like
on live
it was
television.
someone's place, like out away from town. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
And I really don't know the details.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't know if my dad was working for this guy or what, but we stayed at their place and we lived in, I think we had a camper or something. And then my dad built some sort of, well, it's been referenced as a barn, but it was kind of just like a bigger shed
Okay.
of sorts that we actually connected to our camper. And actually that's where my younger sister was born. But so I don't know the timeline of moving around until 2000 comes, and everyone in this church that we're a part of collectively, which I actually, interestingly enough, I called my uncle here last week. I haven't talked to this guy in like a long time. This would be my mom's brother. And I was asking him a few questions because I was a little unclear on a few things. And was it? Hold up. I don't think this was him telling me this. I'll be honest.
Things are getting a little fuzzy.
When you were gonna have me on, I started just trying to recall stuff and
Yeah, oh,
whatever,
yeah.
just so that I maybe could have a little bit better time and I found that like I kind of have forgotten a lot of stuff just because I don't think about it anymore. And so I've listened to some material on it. I've talked to people, and I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure where this information has
Yeah.
come from, but apparently where we had been staying, and I think this was Sandpoint at this point. I think we moved from Sandpoint, Idaho to New Mexico. Apparently the people there, the people that lived in the area, that the locals, because I guess we kind of lived kind of a little bit similarly, kind of in a bit of a commune type style or something. But the locals, I guess, supposedly, according to this source, I almost wonder if this wasn't from a podcast I listened to where they were trying to find backstory. So this might not even be true. I actually wanted to ask someone, but they were harassing the church people or whatever. So
Hold on, get this clear. So the the church people were living in a commune,
well,
Well,
I
the-
don't know if
and
it
they
was
were getting made fun of, or is that what you were saying?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Communes are pretty.
I don't know the actual living in situation,
Gotcha.
but we wouldn't have been living in houses.
Gotcha. Right.
I know that much.
Yeah.
So campers or fifth wheels or the like. So we were like, well, we need some place that is sort of separate from the world. We won't, our own property, I guess. And so they bought some land down in New Mexico. I don't know why New Mexico, but yeah, they bought some land in New Mexico. And we moved down in 2000, and I actually remember some of that trip because we had someone had a fire and possibly a blowout on the way down. Because I know we helped some people move down before we moved.
Okay.
So, being as I was so young, I don't
Mhm.
remember if my memories are from the people that we helped that trip or if it was the one where we moved down there. But yeah, we moved down to New Mexico, and this would be near Clayton, New Mexico. Out kind of it was out about 30 minutes or so, 30 plus minutes from Clayton, out in the middle of nowhere on a dirt road.
Northeast
Well,
corner,
largely
right?
a dirt road.
Up in the northeast corner of New Mexico, isn't that right?
Yeah, that would
Yep.
be right. Yep. So, what was your question?
I don't remember if I had one.
Well, yeah. Oh, where I was born.
Yeah, where he was born.
So
yeah, just
I
keep
don't know
going.
if I don't know if you're wanting me to just kind of go through.
Yep, keep going. This
Okay.
is good.
Well, so then we what we referred to as the land, the plot of land that we lived on.
Yep.
It was referred to as the land or the property. More formally, it was dubbed Strong City. And this you could call a commune, I suppose. Because it was, yeah, gated, which it's not like people, I don't know if I don't know that we had locks on gates.
Was it okay? Okay. This is maybe getting in the weeds a little bit. A shared pot of money.
That was tried. Well, actually, it might have,
Okay.
I think it went beyond being tried. For a while, yeah, actually what was tried was they didn't want anyone to work. And they were just going to try and everyone survive on, I suppose, just Social Security from the old people. I don't know where else the money would be coming from, unless someone had like a nest egg.
That's a little bit unsustainable.
Yeah, well, it was. And so eventually people were told that, well, we need to bring in some income. Because the idea, I guess, was that everyone that was like the optimal. It would have been more optimal, I guess, from those people's standpoint, to not associate with the world.
Yep.
So if we could just be apart from them, not really interact with them much, or as little as possible, then yeah. But it didn't work. We needed to bring more money in. So people who were young enough, I guess, went out and worked. But then it did go, I believe, into just a communal money pot.
Interesting.
Yeah. Universal.
So
fund.
do you have any personal memories of like when you do you remember some of your own personal experiences of when you moved there? Like were you upset about having to move, or do you just remember it as an event? Do you not really remember any sort of emotions, how it struck you? Didn't know any
It
better.
was exciting. I
Oh.
think, yeah.
What was exciting? The idea of just everybody gets to live in one place, or
Well, no.
just the move itself was interesting.
I mean, we all sort of were already.
Oh.
I think
Oh,
living in the
okay,
same
gotcha.
place. So, but yeah, it was just the move. It was like a bit of an adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Little did I know that, yeah, that wouldn't be the last move I ever made for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it was just fun. I mean, like I was 4, so like I don't know
Yeah.
how much I really would
Yeah.
have
Very young.
felt. But so it was just kind of exciting. You got to go somewhere new, I guess. But
Did you have friends? I mean, so
Yeah.
obviously from 4 is young, but like even going on, Like, were there other fellas your age?
I have some. Well, see, I don't know cousins very well. What are my cousins' kids considered? Is that
Your cousins'
first
kids would be
cousins once removed?
first cousins once removed. Yes.
Okay. So we had one of my cousins would have been a fair bit older than me. A fair, like probably 30 years older than me or more. Probably, yeah. So their kids were our age.
Okay.
So we hung out with them a fair bit.
Gotcha.
There was 2 boys and a girl. And there were other kids. Yeah, there were other kids. Like there are actually quite a few.
Gotcha. How many? We're getting more into this than I thought we were going to. How many families would you say moved down there together, all together, down to this strong city?
So like families with kids or just like
Even more broadly, just like
Yeah.
married, like
Sure.
units, family units.
I think well I might have a better idea at a number of people rather.
Okay.
Which so I want to say maybe like 70.
Okay.
But I don't know where that number comes from, like at what point.
Right.
Like it might have been that might be from like 04. I do sort of remember that that definitely came up at some point during my life as when I lived there as how many people were there. And the number 70 comes to mind, but I don't know exactly when. But yeah, probably somewhere between there and 100 is how many people were out there.
10-4. Interesting. How long were you there for?
Well, I don't know the exact year that we moved off the land. I messaged my dad here the other day asking him that question, and I messaged my mom, and neither one knows the exact year. But it would have been sometime around probably 05.
Gotcha.
But we would have been associated with the church up until, I mean, it gets a little murky. So there's not like a hard line necessarily. But there is a line I can go by. And so that would be up until about 07. It's kind of when ties were kind of broken a little bit.
Between like your family, your family sort of got disillusioned or something.
My dad didn't. You could just say that him and Wayne Bent would have been the leader
Yep.
of the church. They didn't always see eye to eye. They definitely,
Experienced some differences.
yeah, rubbed each other the wrong way. And so it largely stemmed from that. It was just that kind of just festered, and it got to the point where in a way, because this would have been, we might be getting ahead of ourselves here, but in 07 that's when we moved to Hawaii.
Right.
So yeah, it's complicated,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Do you have any notable memories from being on the land?
oh yeah, well, like I mean, I do remember living there for sure.
Gotcha.
Like
Is it good memories? Is it bad memories? What or it just was? Or do you try to forget
I
it?
would say largely positive. like I wasn't really affected. Like,
You're just a
'cause,
kid.
yeah, and I would say to an extent, like probably most. Well, okay, maybe not most people. I mean, unless most is interpreted as a majority, which might not even be accurate. But there were a lot of people that probably weren't affected. Well, there were definitely a lot of people that were
When you say effective,
by negative
oh
things, because there was a lot of Wayne took a lot of women,
yeah, that
and he took them from people too. So
including but not limited to his own son.
yeah,
Yo, that trash. Anywho, that's maybe a story for another day. But anyway,
yeah.
um,
But that didn't affect my family. According to my dad, Wayne did. So my dad, for a period of time. Oh, I forgot about this. Sometime, I don't know the year, but it would have been while we were still living out there. So maybe like '04 or something. Apparently, there was a lady out there. And it's kind of interesting because a lot of people were married, but things became so fractured with people's marriages that, like, there'd be people who, well, obviously Wayne did a lot of the fracturing, but then there are other people who sort of didn't live together. I guess they were separated, but they both lived out there. Because I remember this one lady, and her name was Mercy, I think, which wasn't her real name, but we can get into that later. I believe her husband's name was Patrick. They both lived out there in different fifth wheels, but they would have been previously married or probably still were, but yeah. And so I don't know some of that stuff. I don't know the details on.
yeah, gotcha.
I was pretty
Too
young,
young, yeah.
but she had apparently this bright. I think it was her had this bright idea. I guess it was her idea that to I guess give our parents a break from us kids for some reason. I don't know much details beyond that behind it. And the idea was that, well, here's how it panned out. I would go live with her for a while. And then both my sisters went and lived with two other different women, all of which were living alone, I believe.
Weird.
Yeah. And I don't know that there was like a set specific period of time for how long we were supposed to be gone. But it initially was supposed to be just be temporary. Like just for, like, the way I remember it was, I guess, to let our parents, I don't know.
Focus on God.
Well, or even themselves a little bit. Like maybe they could come closer together or something.
Oh, that's the relationship.
Yeah. Well, I have that impression that was sort of the idea. I don't know where I get that from.
Gotcha.
So anyway, I go and stay with this lady. I do remember this. Like I had to have been probably no more than 7, if not younger. So I go and stay with her, and she is extremely strict. She, in the morning when she gets up, she drinks hot water. Like, what kind of psycho drinks hot water in the morning?
That is crazy.
But yeah, she would drink like a mug, or, well, actually, probably a jar. They loved their mason jars out there. It was that kind of a vibe.
Funny.
So she would drink her jar of warm water, in the morning. And wouldn't you believe it? I also need to do this now.
Oh yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah, and I hated it. Like I'm pretty sure I asked her if I could just drink it not warm, but I don't know. For whatever reason, it needed to be warmed up.
Interesting.
And I have another memory with her. We went to town, I guess. We went shopping. I think it was probably in Raton or something, which is um close to the Colorado border.
Okay.
And she bought a toy boat that like you'd play with in the bathtub
Okay.
for me. And as kids, we didn't really get a lot of toys. So this was kind of exciting.
Let's see. You had to play with dirt and sticks.
Yeah. So when we get back, something happened. I don't know what happened, but like, because she was strict, so it probably didn't take much. But she took this boat away as punishment, and I don't even really know if I even ever really got to use it. Like it seemed like I basically didn't even get to use it. Like maybe used it once or something. I don't even know. But anyway, that was gone, which was very disappointing. I remember. Um, and she wouldn't really let us. So she wouldn't let us see our parents.
Hold on. I got questions. Us. It was you and some other boys or something?
Okay, so well, like my sisters were with.
There was somebody else.
Yeah, they were with some other people, but it was kind of everyone was kind of doing the same thing.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if everyone was drinking the warm water, but everyone like the way she like we couldn't go see our parent. I couldn't go see my parents,
Okay.
and the other two women were also handling things the same way.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. I see. I see.
Yeah. So us kids,
Gotcha.
and we couldn't see each other.
Wow.
And I don't know where all this come from. Like I'm not sure why all of that. Because according to my dad, that was not that wouldn't have been anything that had been talked about going into this.
I see.
So, and I remember there was this girl that came over to where to this lady's place. I don't think I'm related to her, but I was like pretty good friends with her brother. But like I guess we were friends. I don't know. Like I'm pretty young. And I remember like I guess I don't know. I guess we were friends. I don't know. Like I definitely don't we really didn't hang out. But whatever the case, young kids. Anyway, I hug her when she goes to leave.
Yep.
And yeah, anyway, she didn't like that.
Uh-oh.
I think she told me not to do that again. And I didn't know why. At the time I felt I just interpreted it as like she was just being strict and I just couldn't interact with people. Basically, she was just limiting my interaction with people. There were some weird things. Like my dad said, and actually this kind of does bring back memories, but like if when we were staying with these people, like if we saw our parents from a distance, like we wouldn't even be allowed to wave.
Yo, bruh.
Yeah. So, and I don't know how long we were with these people.
That's crazy.
It wasn't a year, but like I really just don't know. Like I don't know if it was a month or if it was 6 months.
Wow. That's strange. You don't remember that.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Like I just don't. Yeah. It seemed like it was a bit of time, and apparently, these women had the intention of not of us kids not ever going back. And so I don't know what the point of that was.
It's probably best if we don't know what the point of that was.
So,
How'd this come to an end?
well, I don't know that. I'm not entirely sure. I suppose my parents were like, I don't know that there were any hard feelings over the whole thing in the end. And my parents didn't know what was really going on, like, because
Oh,
there wasn't really any contact. So like they didn't know that these people were being as strict as they were. Um, and during this time, my dad goes and he does some work up in Colorado doing tree work. I believe tree work. That's kind of his thing. He does some in Denver and I think maybe some in Colorado Springs. I believe he said that it almost seemed like he was saying that like he did that for like a month. So obviously we were with him for more than a month.
okay.
So it could have been maybe it was 6 months. I don't know. I don't know. But
Interesting.
during this period of time, I come home. I was the first one to come back home. And so then it was just me and my mom
Oh,
for like a few days. And then we actually we went to Denver where my dad was. And I don't remember exactly how we went from the land to town, but I do remember that we eventually got onto a Greyhound. We took a bus. So that was kind of an interesting experience.
oh,
But then, yeah, so we go up there, and then actually, while we're in Colorado, we went up Pikes Peak while we were there. I think Pikes Peak isn't it the mountain where they do the bicycle racing and the other racing on? Do you know, Jay?
Yeah, there's some like hill climb stuff.
Okay.
They rally cars and stuff.
Yeah.
They race
oh,
up it.
So we went up Pikes Peak, but then we also went up this other mountain. I guess it's a different mountain. But there was a train
okay.
that like would take people up to the top. So I don't know my
Was this your
Colorado
first time as a
geography.
kid, sort of
Being normal?
doing some tourism?
Yeah, it would be, I guess.
Interesting. How old would you have been?
Like probably something like 6 or 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Um
Gotcha.
yeah, so we went on this train ride to the top of the one mountain and there were like goats and stuff up there, I think. But it was a coal train or coal engine or whatever.
Oh. Big coal fired
Yeah.
steam engine.
And so they had the bunk or whatever they call it, the car behind the engine that
Yep.
had all the
Oh, that's
coal in it.
cool. Those
And we-
things fire me
And we
up.
got to sit in the very next car,
Oh, gotcha.
at least for I guess we took it up and then down. So at least one of the times we did. And I believe there wasn't a roof on that one. But it seems like I was also under a roof for part of it. So probably just a disparity between the
Gotcha.
ascent and descent. But anyway, after all that took place, then we went back. And at some point, my sisters would have returned shortly after.
Gotcha.
There wasn't just a lot of time between my return and theirs. But and that was like it felt like our family was like I remember that coming back was like everything was great because
Oh, yeah.
obviously right because
Right.
you were away from everyone for so long. I guess it was so long. I don't actually know how long it was.
It felt long.
Yeah, it
2
did.
days of that would feel long.
But I have other memories out there. I played. Well, I didn't really play baseball, but I was really into baseball, even though it was a solo act, kind of. Like,
Hilarious.
yeah. And that's kind of how it's always been in my life. Like I've just been super into baseball. Like I never got into like watching baseball or anything, but like I was super interested in playing baseball. But like I never really had anyone to play with, so I was definitely never good at it.
No, I am.
But there was like a field kind of. I could tell you I could show you on the map, but relative to where we live, there's a field that we would, and there were a couple times that sort of people got together and actually played.
Gotcha. So there's interesting, like the whole, I mean, not everybody, but
Yeah, enough, I guess.
like full blown overhand fast pitch
Well, I don't know.
baseball type stuff or
Probably,
softball.
I want to say we used baseballs, but I don't know about overhand pitching. I don't
Gotcha.
know.
What did you do? Engage in like any other sort of like games and stuff as kids?
Yeah, as kids,
Like it's in like team sports and this sort of thing,
oh no,
like soccer or
no.
I see.
I knew a guy. He was a little older than me, so we never really hung out. But like, I looked up to him, I guess, because man, he was so cool.
I see.
Dustin was his name. He's on the documentary, actually. But yeah, he was.
On the National Geographic one, or the other one, or the guy that the that one that the British guy put together.
Probably that one.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But he had a bike, and I had some bikes from time to time, but they were never very good. And I remember he got a new bike one time, and that he, I mean, as far as I knew, that was a big envy of mine.
Cadillac.
Yeah,
This was the.
I think
dude.
it even had pegs.
What? What's pegs?
Like,
Oh, like a BMX bike type thing.
yeah, coming out from
Yeah.
your wheels.
Interesting.
Yeah.
10-4. Well, look, let's take a short break, and then we'll talk about your move to Hawaii. Then. All right, we're back from the break. So we kind of covered you sort of growing up on the land, and then somewhere you referenced you made a move to Hawaii. So what inspired the move to Hawaii? How did this come about? And like, so moving is one thing, but Hawaii is crazy. That's a But anyway,
Well,
what inspired this and why Hawaii?
so my dad had for quite a while, or at least for I don't know exactly when this began, but after we moved off the land, we lived in like three different places in the span of maybe
So
2 years.
let me get this straight. Your dad moved off the land because he got disillusioned with.
Well, not exactly.
Interesting.
No, we moved off because all of the families with kids were told to leave.
Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah. And this would have been probably, around 05 maybe. And so I asked my dad recently about, because I knew that was the case, or that's what I've been told. But I was wondering what the reason behind
Right.
such a request was. Now, the answer he gave me, you have to sort of know my dad. You have to know the way my dad thinks to sort of interpret because his opinion is a certain way. If that makes, he has an opinion that a particular event that took place is the reason for why Wayne told the families with kids to leave. and that to him that's the reason, even though that's not explicitly given as the reason.
Can you talk about the reason?
Yeah. So it's kind of funny, but so we weren't allowed to have pets. I don't know to what extent, but dogs and cats, I guess. For sure not. Like it might have just been no dogs. And I suppose the reason was we wanted to keep the peaceful atmosphere. And if you have a dog barking or whatever, it just
Oh,
interrupts it. I don't know if that was kind of part of the reason, but so there were no pets allowed. Well, Debbie, which is she, well, we're gonna get into. If I just go by my terminology of out there, Debbie, who was one of the two witnesses. Now that doesn't necessarily mean anything to you.
we'll get into that one. We'll get into that yet.
One of Wayne's women, we'll put it
Yeah.
that way. She wanted a cat. So it was put to a vote. Interestingly enough, put to a vote. And everyone apparently needed to agree that she could have a cat. So it needed to be a unanimous vote in order for her to get one. But only she would be allowed to have one. Everyone else still couldn't. Well, apparently, according to my dad, and I did actually verify this with my sister, who does remember this. My older sister, Asina, she did not vote yes, and she was apparently the only one who voted against
really?
it. Yeah. And so apparently, I guess that was enough. I guess therefore she couldn't have a cat. And I suppose he could have overruled it by, well, a kid's vote
She's a
doesn't
minor.
count or whatever, yeah. But so I don't know if he didn't do that simply to keep up appearance or like, he was sort of building an image.
Yep.
And so I don't know if he just didn't want to jeopardize by like, because he did not he was sort of, he was not overtly Messiah. That was a sort of a claim, but it wasn't super overt. It was sort of like, I'll prime you to think of me in that way. But
Oh.
you said it, not me.
Oh,
Like it
I
was
didn't realize
so
that.
so everyone thought a lot of Michael Wayne, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
him. Like everyone thought a lot of him. And he steered people in that direction, but not overtly. And then just let them think what they will, sort of thing.
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah. Very manipulative. And so I think maybe to overrule, like if he was to say it needs to be unanimous and then the results are not unanimous in one direction. And then if he was to say, well, that one doesn't count,
Uh-oh.
then I'm just sort of
Speculating.
yeah. Then he is taking control. Like he is being like he is in charge.
Interesting.
And so it's almost like he led people to a cliff, but he didn't push them off. He let them
That's interesting.
he let them talk themselves into jumping in a way.
That's crazy. I did not know that. bit.
So that's just my guess. Is that would be the reason why he didn't overrule. Because my sister would have, she would have been. She was only a couple years, less than a couple years, like a little less than 2 years older than me. So
So then, how did it come to a who said, okay, the people with the kids need to get up out of here?
well, I don't know exactly, but I'm assuming Michael, but I don't know exactly how that went down. Um, but we all did move off, so it would have been us, and then my cousin with their kids, and several others.
So 3 or 4 families.
There would have been, and it gets a little interesting because so Dustin, he had a sister, and then his folks lived out there, and I don't know exactly the timeline of what took how when things took place or exactly what happened
Yep.
because everything kind of, I mean, given also that I was pretty young, there's just a lot of stuff going on. But at some point, him and his sister were the only ones living out there while his folks were off. And I'm not entirely sure how that took place. But obviously, but they did eventually move off, and it might have been around the same time. It might have been around the same time that the families were told to leave because I know that for a while I believe that Dustin even was in public school for a bit somewhere, I don't know, up in Oregon or somewhere, which I thought was quite, I wondered how that, to me I was like, I wonder how that is public school.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, there, I mean, maybe 5 families. I'd have to think about it a little harder
Gotcha.
to get a more specific number, but yeah, somewhere in that
So that so this
neighborhood.
this is the event that got your folks to leave. Where'd you go?
We rented a place just west of Clayton.
Okay.
So it would have been, yeah, probably close to an hour away out in the country.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And so then your dad could keep on doing his tree trimming stuff.
Yeah. But he,
Arboristry. What's it called?
well, he called himself a tree surgeon.
Okay.
So, but he also drove trucks some. So
Gotcha.
it wasn't all, there was some of that.
So how long were you out there?
I don't know exactly how long we were there. It seemed like it was a while, but it couldn't have been really more than a year. Probably somewhere around there, somewhere around a year.
So was this okay? How did this strike you? Were you pretty upset about having to leave? Okay. You would have been. This is 2007. You said you moved off in there.
No, probably like 2005.
Oh, 2005. So you would have been 2000. You'd have been just about 10. Not quite.
Yeah, 9
Yep.
probably. That's rough because I don't know exactly. Um, I interestingly enough, every time we moved, it was kind of exciting,
I see.
something different. But there probably was some. There probably was some. I don't remember how I felt about moving off
Gotcha.
the land. Honestly,
Gotcha.
I'd be speculating.
Yeah. So then you lived out there for a year, um, and then you went somewhere. You got to
Then we
you
moved
moved to
to,
Hawaii.
yeah. So I, I know the places I lived, at least the houses I lived in, by the road name. So the Haringa place, which was on Haringa Road, which was the first place we lived on,
After you
lived at.
after you left the land.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then after that, we lived on at the Furlough place,
Okay.
and then we moved to the Wisdom place, which is,
Oh wow. So lived 3 places in 1 year right there.
Well, it was about 2 years.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then from the Wisdom place, that's where we moved to Hawaii.
Gotcha.
And this, when we moved to, so somewhere after we moved off the land, my dad would have, I don't recall him ever really talking about, I don't recall him talking about Hawaii before then. Although I will say, back up just a little bit, somewhere before we moved off the land, and somewhere between then and moving to New Mexico, we were temporarily kicked off. And we pulled our fifth wheel down to Carlsbad, New Mexico.
You were kicked off the land.
Yeah.
Your dad was kicked off the land because he got into a fight with Wayne.
I think there was some sort of disagreement, and Wayne kicked us off. So then my dad's folks were in Carlsbad, so we went down there. And I don't think we were really down there for very long, like maybe a month or something like that. And then he did some like tree work down there while he was there, and then we came back. Somehow that, I forget what he said, how that came to be.
Wow, what a lot of moves.
But he
Good
came back.
grief.
We came back, and then then we left. But when we were at the Wisdom place, somewhere after we left the land, my dad lived in Hawaii for a brief period of time in his life.
Before you came into the picture.
Yeah, before he was married, before he was
gotcha.
in the church. There was a hurricane that went through there. I thought it was Katrina, but I guess that's Florida. So
Katrina is Louisiana.
that wasn't Florida?
No, Andrew. I think the famous one that went
Whatever
through
the-
Florida is Andrew, I think. Does that
What-
sound right?
Yeah, whatever the case. Actually, my dad went and helped out in Hurricane Katrina while we were living at the Haringa place, the first place.
Oh, gotcha.
He was gone for like a month, I think. But he didn't do it for free. He was he was going there to find work.
I see.
Which is quite the,
Gonna go ahead and
quite
take
a ways
advantage
to
of this.
go.
Oh, for trees. You're gonna do tree work and clean up trees and stuff.
I suppose.
Gotcha.
I don't know if it was I don't know if it was solely the trees that he was messing with, but I don't remember the hurricane that went through Hawaii,
Interesting.
or it might have only hit the one island, but maybe it hit multiple, I don't know. But there was a hurricane back, I suppose maybe like the 70s, I suppose is when it would have been. Because I think he would have been 20s, probably 20s to 30. And he enjoyed being there, as I suppose you would,
Yeah.
especially as a young single guy. Don't really have, it's extremely expensive, so you only have to take care of yourself. But he always sort of wanted to go back. Well, and then somewhere along the way, he had a dream that, and that my dad did this a lot, where he would have dreams and then interpret the dreams to mean certain
Yep.
things. Well, he had this dream that there were some people, and he knew the people. I guess the people were linked to people in real life
Yep.
that came up to him in this dream, and they were wanting to sell him a sawmill, I think it was, or something like that. No, that wasn't sell. It was like inherit, or
Okay.
like somehow the sawmill was his.
Yep.
I think it was a sawmill. I might be getting some details mixed up. You would think, as many times as I've heard these things, I would remember them, but anyway, if it wasn't a sawmill, I'm not sure why I have a sawmill in my mind, but it doesn't really matter. He was supposedly given this thing or told that this was his or something to that effect. And somehow this translated out to the island of Kauai, which is the island that he had been on previously, and the one that we moved to as well. So he sort of, and I don't think it was right at first, but somewhere along the way, he interpreted it as the island of Kauai was his.
Yep.
God gave it to him. And so eventually his dream was to move his family there. And I think this all sort of, I don't know about the dream. I think the dream would have happened quite a while back, but probably while he was within the church, I think it would have been, but probably long before New Mexico, or probably before New Mexico anyway. But he didn't start thinking of going to Hawaii, or at least verbalizing it, until probably after we moved off the land.
Gotcha.
But we did. So we sort of sold a whole bunch of stuff, and then we kind of were planning on just like we weren't planning on coming back.
Yep.
So he built a big crate, wooden crate, and we put a whole bunch of stuff in it. And the plan was for myself and my dad and another guy, younger guy. So we knew some people who, it was a lady and her daughter and son. I was friends with her son. He would have been older than me. And then his sister, Amber was her name, was like my older sister's best friend.
Oh,
So they were probably roughly the same age. And I was pretty good friends with her son. Joseph would have been his name. Although there was another name. We didn't really get into that. But anyway,
these were land people as well.
yeah. And her name was Rachel, I believe, the mom. And her husband would have left. He would have been originally part of the church.
Okay.
Jeremiah, I believe his name was. And through a series of complicated stuff that we could probably get into the next time, I don't know, but somehow he got involved, Joseph. Or my dad thought that
he was part of the dream somehow.
Well, I don't know about that, but it was like he just, I guess, suggested that Joseph come with. And I don't know exactly what that meant for Rachel and Amber. If the thought was that maybe they would eventually come over there too, or what. I really don't know what inspired that or what the plan was. But whatever the case, the three of us went over there. Now, some context on Joseph. Apparently, Jeremiah was abusive.
Mm.
And I don't know if that's the reason. I don't know if that's a contributor. But he wasn't really all there.
Oh.
Like
the French fry are too short.
Yeah. So like he would have been in his teens when we moved, or like I have some memories of 04 that I can link to 04 living on the land. And I want to say around that time he would have been, well, I don't know, maybe 14. And I would have been, I would have actually been a fair bit younger than him. But again, he's mentally not his age, really. I mean, like, I don't know. My memories are as somewhat of a kid. So, like, I don't have an adult's perception of how mentally
Yeah.
off he was.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if I would call him retarded or not.
Oh,
But
careful with that word. Somebody's going to take offense. Anyway.
But so anyway, the three of us went over there and we were there we moved there in January of 07
Okay.
and I was 11. And then about 3 months later, my sisters and my mom moved over. They came over. It felt like way longer than that because I have a lot of memories of living in Hawaii before they arrived,
I see.
which wasn't all that great. Well, some of it was great, but Joseph, who I knew mostly as Zaf,
Okay.
which is short for Zaf Panath Panea.
That's a crazy.
Zaphnath Panea. I forget exactly how you say it, but essentially the name given to Joseph in the Bible.
Oh, right. Right.
Right. But Zaph, that's how I knew
Yep.
him
Yep.
as largely. So he like wet the bed.
Oh, God.
Like I don't know that he ever stopped. He might still be to this day. I don't know.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So like you'd go into his room and it just smelled like urine. Like a lot of stuff smelled like urine.
Were you living in a
with him.
house?
No. When we moved over there, no. When we first moved over there, so I don't know exactly what we did day one. I don't really remember day one. But no, okay. Oh, did that happen? I'm trying to think.
Oh, dear.
I think we stayed in a hostel for like a night or something like that. But whatever the case, they have like farms over there. Like they do a lot of organic stuff, as you can imagine. And so they'll have like a lot of lettuce farms and what have you. A lot of lettuce. They do other stuff too, but it seemed like there was just a lot of lettuce. And so it's a very hippie environment.
Right.
Like a lot of people just, don't really. They're just they just live. Yeah. Loose, I guess. I don't know how else to really describe it. So these people who own these farms, who also sort of typically are a little bit that way, they would just you could live there. There might have been a few structures that, some of the people lived in. Not great. Like not like a house.
Gotcha.
Nothing close to a house.
Gotcha.
At best a shed.
Huts.
Yeah. I suppose something like that. But a lot of people just lived in tents on these places. And as long as you put in X amount of work tending to their farm, then you could live there for free.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it really wasn't even that much work, it didn't seem like. I mean, it was, I suppose it also maybe was a little dependent on how many people they had there. Just the work needed done, right? So as long as the work got done. So, but yeah, so you put in some work on their farm, harvesting lettuce or whatever. And then you could stay there for free. So we did that. And then my dad tried to get work. Tree work you would think that maybe there's a lot of trees. You would think that tree work would be a thing, but also just no one cared.
Oh, I see.
Like the whole island is kind of just overgrown. So like no one was picky. No one needed their tree trimmed.
Right, right.
So that wasn't really there just wasn't like at best it would be more like landscaping. Would have been what maybe people would have.
So did you guys all live in
for.
one tent?
Me and my dad did, and then Zaf had his
I
own.
imagine he did have his own after a couple rounds of,
Yeah. And then at some point, he he would have like dreams and like yeah,
your dad.
no,
Oh,
Zaf.
this dude.
Yeah. I don't even, yeah. So, and then my dad would be like, you need to, I don't know,
He was a real
shape
interpreter.
up or whatever.
Shape. Well, hold on. What now?
Well, Zaf would just, I don't know. I mean, you're dealing with someone that is just not firing on all cylinders here.
Yep.
And so, like, and my dad just, I don't know, he had an idea of how you need to have a relationship with God and all this sort of thing.
Even
And
if you're a
Zaf just,
simpleton.
huh?
Even if you're a simpleton.
Yeah. And obviously Zaf just wasn't really doing any of that or whatever.
Oh dear.
But he would I don't know. I guess he'd been influenced enough around my dad and other people. I suppose that's where this comes from. But he started having supposedly dreams like where he'd see angels, and obviously it was kind of just either made up or
Oh,
whatever.
I see.
But then yeah, supposedly yeah, or yeah, I think it was made up because I think there was a lot of him trying to
Manipulate people into getting what
well,
they want.
like he lied.
Mm.
And I think the reason for that was to, I suppose, make people think of him in a certain way.
So simple, but strangely manipulative.
Yeah, like he wasn't, like he was simple enough that like he couldn't quit wetting the bed. And some of that is like, okay, like you have to wonder how much of it was from him being simple.
Well, we don't know if he was abused. We don't know what the poor fellow
Yeah.
went through at home.
Like pretty sure I heard this, that like he was beat with a garden hose at one point. Something to that effect. And I'm sure I've heard other stuff. I just don't remember. But like one time before we went to Hawaii, like this is just kind of tell you tell you the kind of guy he was. He got mad at his mom for some reason. I don't know what the story was, but he took a garden hose and put it in her vehicle and turned it on and just completely flooded the whole vehicle.
Just loaded it up with water.
Yeah. Just because he
That's
was
pretty
mad.
crazy.
And like he was mad because I remember I was hearing about how like his mom, I think his sister would have been there, like were like in the house trying to be away to stay away from him.
Goodness gracious.
So yeah, a little bit.
Real piece of work.
Yeah. But at some point, my dad just told him that he maybe just needed to,
Vacate.
yeah. And so he did. And he ended up, like, I remember, like, he eventually moved back. His mom, I think, bought him a ticket and he headed out. But yeah, he did. Because I remember when we went to the airport, like, we saw him around, but like, he would. He had some people that he hung out with. Like, he wasn't like a simpleton, I wouldn't say. Like, he was with it enough that like he like I don't know that it was like, it sounds cruel that my dad just kicked out some retard. That I mean, it's like he wasn't. It's not that he couldn't function.
Gotcha.
He just couldn't control his functions.
This is horrible. Oh my goodness. Anywho. Oh, hilarious.
And
Anyway.
we were friends. We were friends, I suppose. But it also, like, I didn't have many options.
Right. It was pretty slim picking.
Yeah. But anyway,
This all before your sisters and mom.
well,
out.
when he would have went back after they got there,
Okay.
so he would have been there at least 3 months.
Okay.
But yeah, then they show up, and then we lived on a few different farms. Ned and Martha, or maybe Martha was another Ned. Ned. Trying to remember the name of the people who owned the first farm that we lived at. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But we lived at a few different farms, and then outside of that, you can camp on beaches. So like it'd be more
Yep.
like there's a park next to the beach. Campground, I guess.
Yep.
And people would camp. But there were also a lot of people who I guess were homeless, and they would just camp at these parks. But you couldn't stay. So you needed a permit, and then you'd put the permit on your tent. And I'm trying to remember the rules. It was either you couldn't stay longer than 2 weeks, or after, I think you could get a permit, and then you could get a second permit
An extension.
at the particular park, right? These are park specific. And then to get another permit for that particular park, you had to not be at that park for, I don't know if it was like a day or
really?
what. Yeah. But it was basically they just didn't want chronic beach dwellers to be in the same, like basically to put down roots. I guess it was just to get people to pack up and move. If people had to pack up and move after 2 weeks,
They wouldn't put down roots.
then yeah, it couldn't
Like a home on the
yeah,
park.
they couldn't quite become so overgrown with their camp.
Yep.
That was probably the
Yep.
idea. And so we had 2 beaches for sure that we would just
Go back and
oscillate
forth.
between.
That is so wild to me. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking about the fact that the entire time in Hawaii, you sort of lived, you just camped. That's pretty cold. I
Yeah.
imagine. I don't know how much is left in there either. But to live that way, I just can't. I just can't imagine. But this sounds crazy. I understand this sounds crazy, but there's a part of me wonders what it would be like to do it, just for 5 years. I'm thinking, man, I wish I could remember the name of those novels. Who write? Oh boy, I'm having a brain block. This guy writes his novel about these people who moved from Oklahoma to California. And anyway, it was during it moved. And it was a terrible time in Oklahoma. Farmers got run off, and they went to California. Many promises of much wealth in California. And this truly happened. But anyway, this was a novel. I can't remember who wrote it. But anyway, they would do this thing where they'd go live in these camps. And I just can't imagine what that'd be like. But basically, you can stay here for free if you do a little bit of work. And like you could just live your life. Perfect weather. So it would just be. It would be a strange way of living.
Sounds like more like one of these farms in a way.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about. Like that's what I'm thinking about. Living on these farms. It'd just be an amazing way of life. Does any part of is it maybe you have too many bad memories, but do you have any? Does any of do you find within yourself never a temptation to go back to that? Because it seems like in one way, if it could be a very carefree way of life, like vacate, like a complete dispensing of responsibility. So it's irresponsible in one way, but like these guy people, people go down to um, Hawaii and they do nothing but camp and surf. Anyway, that's we're getting off the side from your story. But anyway, I didn't know if good any part of that
I
holds you
didn't
back
I
or
didn't
really.
like the farms, living on the farms. And I see what you're saying. Sort of like if you were single per se and had no responsibilities
Yeah.
except just to survive, I guess. Then, you could just have like the surfer sort of lifestyle and just surf and then work your stay at this farm and then maybe do something a little side something on the side just to give you enough money to go buy surf wax, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
And continue surfing.
And a banana every now and again or whatever you
Yeah.
eat.
Um but the reason I didn't really care for these farms is just it had to do with the kind of people who lived here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I just didn't.
So what did you do or what did your dad do or whatever? If there was no tree trimming to do, what did you do to get like food?
I don't remember exactly what he did a whole lot. Like there were, like I know stuff that he did eventually. I just don't know exactly what he was doing the whole time. Eventually, he did get a job as a dishwasher due to the fact that there really wasn't much else. I guess that he was finding. So he worked at a restaurant for a while, washing dishes, which is about probably the lowest position you could have.
That's where you start. Let's just say it that way.
But it was a nice restaurant.
I see.
If only we could have afforded to go there.
Oh boy.
Oh, here's a bit of interesting. I don't know if it's really relevant to the life story or whatever, but before my mom and sisters came over, my dad and I the first farm we lived on was, well, I guess for the sake of the third chair, they can look up a map. But and this might not mean anything to you right now, but you can look it up later. But there's a town, there's Kapa'a, and then further along is another town. It's actually kind of the last town, because so the island of Kauai, there's there's no road all the way around.
Okay.
It doesn't quite connect. So the end of the road on the North Shore, well, there's the road goes beyond this town. The last town is Hanalei, and Hanalei is kind of a cool town, I suppose. It was seen as a bit of a cool town. We and so this farm that we lived on, this first farm that we lived on, would have been somewhere between, I think it was actually somewhere around Anahola, which would have been between Hanalei and Kapa'a, probably closer to Kapa'a. I think Anahola is the right name. Some of the names are getting a little fuzzy. It's actually been a while since I've been there. But we hitchhiked. That's how we got around, because we didn't have a vehicle for a while. So me and my dad, we hitchhiked to Hanalei this one day, and we spent the day. I don't know what we were doing, but we were just hanging out. Whatever. You're on an island, you sort of do whatever you want, I guess.
Yeah.
And so we were just walking around, seeing stuff, and it all of a sudden rained that day. And it was the biggest rain since like 1957. So when you come right before you get into Hanalei, Hanalei is kind of at the base of a bit of a mountain.
Okay.
I don't know the name of the mountain, but and there's so obviously when it rains a lot, you get water that runs off of the mountain, right? And there's a river that there's a one-lane bridge that goes across. And that's your only way into Hanalei. It's a little bit before Hanalei, but you kind of come down from another town called Princeton. Come down sort of bit of a there's a grade, whatever. You come off of a higher elevation area. I don't know if it's really a mountain, but and then you eventually go across this one-lane bridge. And then then you eventually get into Hanalei. Well, due to all of this rain, there was this river was completely full, and they shut down the road.
You were stuck.
So we were stuck. And we're talking there was so much rain. We were walking through town and the street was underwater.
I see.
Like you're wading in the street.
Like a full blown hurricane.
Yeah. Like it was a lot of water. And the locals we were like, this is a lot of water. And the locals were like, this is a lot of water.
I see.
I mean, so to put it in context, it's basically always raining in Hawaii.
Right.
Or like it rains a lot.
Yep.
There is never a day where there's not a cloud in the sky.
At some point.
Like there's never a day where you look up and there are no clouds.
Wow.
So it rains a lot. It rains, probably 4 out of 7 days or something like that. I don't know, just off the top of my head. So anyway, but we did. I don't remember exactly. I almost wonder if we didn't have to spend the night. I don't really remember. But you would think I would at 11, almost 12. But I do know that my dad had considered waiting where the river mouth sort of went into the ocean. He'd considered he was debating whether or not we could wade through it. But that probably wouldn't have been a good idea.
I have my doubts.
Because it would probably been a pretty powerful current there. So, but, yeah.
Interesting. So, how long were you in Hawaii then?
Pretty much exactly 2 years.
That's all. Oh, I thought you were there longer.
Mm-mm.
Interesting. What got you out of there? Just finally, it's like, man, we can't live here. It's just
Well, my folks split up.
oh, that was in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Did your parents split? Did you move when they split, or when did this happen? Oh yeah, I think I remember the story.
Pretty much. Yeah, we would have lived together up until we left.
Gotcha.
And my mom, it was actually interesting because I don't know if interesting is the right word, but so the other families that were on the land, they all either split up or split up in a sense. And we were the last ones that were together. And looking back, it was like, well, we definitely, like my folks definitely had their issues.
I see. So you saw it coming.
Well, but it always got resolved,
Right.
you know? And so, like, there would be like I could tell you stories, but like there would be times when my mom would threaten to leave, but she never would.
Right.
And so when she did in Hawaii, when she was talking about leaving, I just didn't take her serious. I was completely surprised when she said she actually had plane tickets booked.
See.
Like I couldn't believe it. I was like, she's
He's real this time.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
well, or that she was going. I think she may have told me before she booked them, because I know there was a question of, do I want to go? The girls were going.
Okay.
Do I want to go? And I'm not. And this was a really tough decision for me.
Yeah, I mean, you're freaking 11.
Well, at this point, I would have been like almost 14.
Oh, okay.
So
Still,
I-
that's a crazy.
we moved there in
problem to have to
January.
Face at 14.
Yeah, we moved there in January, and I would have turned 12 in March. And we left in January, and I would have turned
Okay.
14
The following
the next
March.
March. So, but yeah, I'm the only son. And so I had a bit of a, like, my relationship with my dad was unique in that sense, because, I was his
Yep.
only son, and my sisters kind of always took mom's side. Like, I don't know if there were necessarily sides so much, but like, I mean, there were to some extent, but like if they would have, yeah, I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah.
Like, they would have taken her side,
Yep.
whether it was blatantly or not. And so I found myself sort of taking my dad's side some. And a large reason, and I remember this explicitly, a large reason was I felt bad for him because no one else was taking his side.
Poor fellow's on his own.
And so when my mom and sisters when I heard that they were going to be leaving, like, I felt really guilty. The idea of going with, I felt really bad about, because then I just leave my dad. Like,
Yeah.
what's my dad going to do? Who's going to be here for my dad?
Yep.
But I don't. But I also, I don't know. I don't really know what made me choose to leave,
So you did finally decide.
because that was my decision in the end.
I see.
I don't know. Like I said, it's been a while. This would have been 09, I guess. Yeah. I think it would have been 09, January of 09.
Yep.
So that's been a while.
For sure.
So I don't know if it was just, I didn't really, there probably was a little bit of, I had an idea of what life would be like, just me and my dad. And so I don't know if I didn't want to get trapped in something. Before I found out that my mom was leaving, buying tickets, like, my dad was all depressed
Oh.
because she must have told him that she was, whatever, taken off. Because I remember when my mom told me that she was buying tickets, I was like, oh, that's why dad is the way he is. So when my dad gets depressed, I suppose it's sort of like when anyone gets depressed, like, they just sort of don't do anything,
Just mope.
Yeah. It's kind of,
Drag.
yeah. Sleep a lot because you
Yeah.
don't like life.
Right. Right.
So so then that sort of explained that. and so I don't know if it was. I don't know, but I felt guilty for the choice I did make.
Oh, I see. Well, you. Where'd you go?
Well, we moved back to New Mexico, and we stayed with some people we knew, Dave and. See, everyone. For context, everyone they people got into this thing of changing their name.
Yeah.
out
So these
there.
were land people you went and moved
Yeah.
back with,
But they would have lived. They would have been another family.
who had
Um,
to, who left due to the kids.
Yeah. It would have been actually the family of the girl that I hugged while I was staying
Oh,
with that
okay.
one lady. So I knew I was pretty good friends with Jacob, which would have been their son.
Gotcha.
He would have been, I think, a little younger than me. He was extremely kind of awkward. I don't know if awkward. He was just super hermit. Like I remember, like years later, like when I would have been in my teen. Well, I guess I would have been in my teens when I moved back, but several years after that, when we would have been a ways into our teens, like he, which is his dad was a little bit this way. I'm not even sure how he got married, to be honest. Like his idea was, I would just love to move out by myself, live somewhere, and be a complete hermit.
Cabin on a mountain.
Yeah, like getting married,
Why?
like I don't know, like that you have to deal with people. So very unsociable. I guess that would be the way to explain him. Like not social at all.
Yeah.
But we were friends, I guess. I don't know if I was doing the heavy lifting in that relationship or not, but but we lived there for I don't know, maybe a month or two
Okay.
at their place.
Okay.
And then we eventually moved back into the Wisdom place, which is the place we were living in when we moved to Hawaii. So
Gotcha.
we were able to get that. I believe Milton, which is my mom's brother, my uncle. I think maybe he had a hand in that, if I recall. Like maybe he paid for a month's rent
Oh, gotcha.
or something. And then my mom went and got a job at the nursing home as a CNA.
Oh.
I mean, she probably had to get. I think you have to be licensed, but whatever the case,
So she would have got her training then after you got back though to do that job.
yeah.
Gotcha.
And it seemed like they might do sort of like on the ground training or whatever,
Right.
however that works.
Yep.
But yeah, get certified after you
Gotcha.
are working or
So
something.
how long were you there then?
At the Wisdom place? See, 14. Not a year. I don't think we were even there a year. That's way too much time. But during this period of time, so Mennonites lived around this area
Okay.
where the Wisdom place is.
So this is where you got hooked up with the Mennonite community.
Yeah. And we would have interacted with some a little bit before we moved to Hawaii. Because when we lived at the Furlough place, that house was actually on the corner of Furlough and Nickel.
Okay.
And Nickel is my brother-in-law's last name, Grant. So that road would have been named after his uncle, I guess, because his uncle
Oh,
lived down the road.
Interesting.
So that was and so they had 2 girls and a boy or something to that effect, and we interacted a little bit, like not much.
I see.
We interacted at least once. I can think of one time.
See,
But when we got back, we moved back to the Wisdom place, and there was a big shop on the property that one of the Mennonites there was renting out just to store machinery, tractors or whatever
gotcha.
for, I suppose, winter. I don't know, whatever wasn't being used.
Gotcha.
It was a pretty big shed, so there it could hold a fair bit. And then Grant, my now brother-in-law, he would come and do stuff in that barn, and that's how my sister met him, and thus
The
began
relationship
began the
began to
journey
bloom.
began the journey of all that. But then we from there we moved to town into a house. And then from that house, we didn't live there for very long at all. I'm not sure why we moved, but we moved to another house in town.
This is all okay. Gotcha. How long? Okay. When did you? At some point, you left this community and went to.
Oh, the land?
No. What town are you living in now?
It would be Clayton.
Okay. At some point, you left Clayton and went. Where did you go from Clayton?
Like in the process of getting here, I guess.
Yeah, just the next. What's the next? What was the next step from Clayton? I mean, so my question is, how long did you live in Clayton in that community or whatever before you sort of moved
Okay, sure.
moved away again?
If we get into sort of more broad
Yeah,
terms, a lot of micro steps, but
yeah.
if we get into more broad terms, it would have been 2015.
And you moved there in 2009.
We moved back from Hawaii in 09.
So from 9 to 15, you were in Clayton. How many times did you move in that period of time in those 6 years?
So if you count Dave and Holly
Yep.
Thompson, I think that was her name, Holly. People they took multiple names.
Yeah.
They dubbed themselves
Yep.
different names.
So you were Dave's in the Wisdom Place, and then the 2 places in Clayton. That's 4.
Dave's, Wisdom Place, and then the 2 town locations. And at some point during this period of time, my dad moved back from Hawaii. He was there a total of 4 years. So 2 years later. So yeah,
Okay.
2 years would have went by. Okay. At this point, we were, I believe, living in the last place in town,
Okay.
which was Court Street.
Okay.
And he moved back and he moved to Washington. So he went straight to Washington State, which is where at this point his folks were,
Okay.
and a large part of his other family too, I guess. But his folks were there, and his dad was not in great shape.
Oh.
Or yeah, whatever. He had dementia, and so he just took care of him. So he moved in with his folks, took
Gotcha.
care of his dad, and then eventually his dad died during, I believe, that period of time.
formerly known as your grandfather.
Yeah,
Did you know your grandfather?
not really.
Had you met him?
Yeah.
I see.
So I didn't actually. My mom's folks they died before any of us were born.
Okay.
So we never knew any of those. Actually, we never knew any of her family because she had a brother and a sister who also both died.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Her brother got killed in a car accident when he was like 20 or 21 or something. And her sister, honestly, I'm not entirely sure, but it was some sort of disease, I think.
Gotcha. So this would have been 2 years after, while you were still at the last place in town, your dad moved back. Then what happened?
Well, after his dad died, he moved down to Texline, which is about 10 miles from Clayton,
Clayton got you. Okay.
just over the border. And I don't know if you call state lines borders, but and then he drove truck for a bit.
Okay.
And then I went and stayed with him for a while.
Okay.
He was renting a place there. I don't know. Like, I don't know if you really consider that moving because, like I
Yep.
said, splitting hairs
Yep.
here. But like, I did stay with him some. Kind of went back and forth a little bit, and then eventually he moved back to Washington. There's so much that happened that
Yeah.
it's almost hard to keep track of.
My mind is whirling at this moment. That's how all the moves. Anyway, okay.
Well, I've tried to explain it to my wife, and she'll be like, "Okay, well, how many different places have you lived?" And I'm like, "Well, define."
It's
Like, this is
very
way too
convoluted.
broad. That's way
right,
too broad.
right.
And she's like, "Well, like," and then she'll try and
So he moved back to Washington. Okay, did you move with him?
no,
Then you moved back in with mom.
yeah.
Okay.
But at some point, he came down for a visit. Oh yeah. My sister got married in 2013.
How long? Okay. How long after she met Grant did she marry this man? 2 years?
Maybe 3.
So, okay. That's a story in of itself. How she got okay. Anyway, that'd be an interesting story to talk to her about. So she met this boy, joined his church,
Mhm.
married him in the space of 3 years.
Yep.
I have so many questions about that because of I mean, and we won't get into it, but like coming from a very, I'm going to call it conservative, cult or church, I would say, and then sort of all the fallout from that, and then she. And because there's a lot of history that we haven't touched on that happened with the church. Like Wayne ended up in jail in the midst of all this,
Mhm.
and that church, whatever. And so that was because of some misdemeanors with minors, let's say. And then, so this is all the backstory. And then she joins another, actually quite conservative. She joined herself to another conservative church, and that's so fascinating to me. But
Well,
anyway, we won't. Maybe we ain't got, or maybe you got something to say about that. I mean, that's so interesting to me because in one way, it would also make sense if you would just flee conservatism. Just I've had it with this garbage. I'm gonna
Right.
go do whatever. But like, none of you kids did that anyway. But that's we can get into that later. But that I want to note that right
Yeah.
now. That is so interesting to me. Anyway, so Washington, your dad moved to Washington. You moved back with your mom. When at some point you left there.
Well, just one thought on
Okay.
my sister.
Yep.
Like, there definitely is stuff, notable things about that whole thing. Like when we moved back up until Grant and then whatever. But sort of her story to tell.
Yep.
And I don't know if it, like, I would assume that, like, some of it, I don't know that she would even want out.
Yeah, no, that's completely fine. Let's
So-
not get into her business.
Yeah. But yeah, we can talk about it later. But so when she got married in 2013, my dad came down for that.
Gotcha.
And then at this point he bought a motorcycle, so he came down on that interestingly, all the way from Washington.
It's kind of cool.
And then I went back with him.
On the motorcycle.
motorcycle.
Yo, that's cool.
I will say that, yeah,
That's a
that was
long
extremely
drive.
uncomfortable
I bet it was.
on the back seat. Back seats of motorcycles are not comfortable, and it was. I don't know, like it's a solid
Had to
2
be
days to
couple
Oregon,
days.
yet all the way up to the northwest corner
Wow.
of Washington. So I don't know if we did it in 3 days or I don't remember. It would almost seem like it would have been 3 days,
Wow.
but yeah.
Why did you
So-
go back up there with him?
I guess I just wanted to.
Was it
know.
like, or was it part of this? You talked about feeling sort of sorry for him. Would this have been part of it, or would that kind of have not that much anymore? Was it something else?
There could have been some of that. I'd have to almost think about it for a bit to remember my feelings on the matter. It could have. I don't remember, but he might have even suggested it, which would have been a factor.
Got you. I mean, he's your dad after all.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense. I just didn't know if you had what your thoughts and feelings were around that.
Yeah. But so we go back up there, and I just lived with him and my grandma.
And this would have been 2013.
Yeah.
Got you.
And I want to say I was there for about 6 months. And I think the idea, I don't remember. It almost seems like it must have been kind of the idea would have been just going there for a while.
Oh, I see. I see.
I don't know that there was really anything permanent about any of my
Oh, I
life. So,
Yeah.
but then after, and I don't know if we're skipping over that whole thing, but it was interesting, or I don't know. The location was kind of cool. It was the northwesternmost town of America.
I
Like in
see.
the very,
Up there, man.
yeah, Blaine, Washington. So that's above Seattle. That's the next town down is about 18 miles away, which is Bellingham. Which is actually, just a side note, BNSF Railroad.
Yep.
The B stands for Bellingham. Interestingly enough, Bellington, Northern Santa Fe. Which I never knew that. So
I didn't either. Now I do.
yeah. Anyway, after if you want to question me out, if you feel free to pause me on anywhere.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep
Yeah,
going.
keep going.
So then I flew from probably Bellingham to Boise, Idaho. And then Grant and Asina picked me up. And then I stayed with them for a bit in Oregon.
Gotcha. So they had moved up there.
Well, Grant had moved there before they got married.
Oh,
So then when they got married, he just came back down to Texas, got married, and then they just
okay.
went up there.
Okay. So you went and stayed with Grant and Asina then after you got down at Dad's for 3 months.
Yeah. 6 months.
6 months. Apologies.
Yeah. And then I don't know how long I was there. Like it probably wouldn't have been a month. I don't remember.
Okay.
At least a week, if not a couple, something like that. But maybe it was a month. I don't know. And then Grant's folks were, and the reason I had went there is because Grant's folks were planning on coming up for a visit. And then the idea was, I guess, that I would ride down with them.
Gotcha. Back to mom's.
Yeah. Because they lived down in New Mexico. So that's what I did. And at some point, my younger sister Beth moved to Oregon as well, same place. And I want to say she moved there during that period of 6 months.
I see.
And she was staying with some other people.
Okay.
Yeah, not with my sister though.
Got you.
And I also think it was. Wait, hold up. No. Nope. No, she didn't. She didn't move there while during that period. She was still down in New Mexico. And she had been, I guess, attending church stuff
Okay.
with the
Asena's,
Mennonites.
Asena's church.
Yeah.
Or down in Texas, or was it down in Texas? Hold on, where?
Oh, like congregation? Yeah, it would have been text line.
Okay, it was it. I see. So that would have been with the Mennonite community in Texas.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because I remember I spoke with her while I was up in Washington, and I believe I spoke with her. Whatever the case, I found out that she was potentially considering doing that herself, going that route.
Joining the
church.
church. Yep.
And at this point, I was very much against that idea. My dad was very much against that idea. Because my dad wanted his plan was eventually our family would, after sort of the LOR church fell through because of Wayne. His thought was that we would start a church.
Who's we?
I guess our family or something like that.
I see.
Him. Eventually, I think the idea would have been that I would have led it, I suppose. And we can get into some of that stuff later. But
I did not know this bit of this.
yeah. And so when we lived in Hawaii, that was kind of a thing on top of Hawaii. There's a lot. There's so much stuff that we've skipped, but yeah, that would have been kind of the idea. We moved to Hawaii. God gave him the island, and we would start a church over there. That kind of thing.
Yep.
And that was sort of God's plan that was what God had told him.
Oh, and so then his family joining a different church was putting a
Yeah. So then my mom left. Us kids went with her.
Oh boy.
And then to him, so he's over in Hawaii for another couple of years. And during that period of time, my sister joins the church, actually. So it would have been, because obviously she didn't join right before she got married. I don't know if that's obvious, but he would have still been in Hawaii when she joined, whatever the case. The Mennonite church. And he was very against it. So much so it was to the point that he felt like, obviously he's over there, he's not in contact with anyone as far as in the Mennonite church, so he doesn't actually know the situation, so to speak.
Right.
But he felt like the Mennonites were taking advantage of him not being there and sort of stealing his family in some sense.
I see.
And so and then he had some dream that supposedly involved Grant, and it was in a negative way because Grant would have obviously, I suppose he would have. Anyway. So a running theme, I guess you could say, throughout my life is I feel like, I don't know how else to describe it, But for most of my life, I have felt like I've taken the coward's route. And let me explain.
Please.
So my dad had all these ideas, and I'm not entirely sure what, like, I do wonder. So Wayne had his ideas,
Yep.
and he had his group, and that went how it did. And it almost makes me wonder if my dad's it well, I could tell you some other stuff, but my dad kind of almost, or not even really kind of, emulated the same thing. Like he kind of started doing the same thing. Well, I guess he didn't profess to be the Messiah, so there was that. But he did, like, he went as far as to, you know, like, we were going to start our own church type thing, and like he did the whole sort of, like, Wayne had a lot of vision,
Visions and prophecies and this sort of
right?
thing. Yep.
And yeah, and he I suppose had his way of how he thought things should go. And my dad did a lot of that in a little bit of a different way. Like, I don't know that Wayne relied as heavily on actual dreams type thing as much as my dad, but it sort of like
Yeah.
two different ways, but they got to the same place in some sense.
Did you see? But as a side note, I guess for the people watching and listening, I just noticed too. I was looking this up the other day. That guy, so he's got a website, and just now in February, he dropped a big thing, a big sort of
Document.
yes.
I've heard about it.
You haven't, yeah. So anyway, if so, for anybody watching and listening, if you're interested in sort of see how Wayne thinks, read this document. It's actually I don't know. I wonder how you feel when you read it. But if you're not associated with any of this sort of thing, it can give you a bit of an insight into how Wayne thinks. Like it's very prophetic or whatever. It's like there's parallels between sort of like stuff in the Bible, like especially maybe like Revelation. He sees a lot of things that are going on now being predicted in the Bible. So he does a lot of do I want to use the word conflating?
Hmm.
Like he tries to map the revelations in the Bible to things that are happening now, and it's it's crazy. I mean it's I don't actually know if that's fair to say it's crazy. It's actually kind of fascinating, and it's cooked in a way, but it's at the same time it's sort of weirdly fascinating to me that someone has given like it. Now I'm going on my own here a little bit, but it strikes me like there's a weird. The way of thinking is interesting to me. The conclusions aren't, but that way of thinking, I'm not explaining it correctly. But he is admittedly there's this way of thinking, it strikes me how your dad is. They look sort of underneath the surface. So I think the idea of looking under the surface and seeing that there's a spirit world moving under the surface, or there's motivations. I don't know if the spirit world. I don't know what I think about that, but there are underlying motivations and there are parallels. Yes, the idea of parallels is interesting to me. The conclusions are whacked out to me. But anyway, it it is a fascinating and weird and morbid in a way, from the standpoint that Wayne's life is an example of where that leads. If when you follow that road, or when you get, I'm not sure. I'm not. It's very very strange how that got there. But anyway, I feel like I just detracted. I started by just trying to give some context to this way of thinking
Yeah.
that has sort of driven some of this. It seems like. But anyway, now I forget where we were.
Well, I don't know. I don't know about Wayne, but
You talk. Oh, you were talking about being. You feel like you're taking the coward's route.
right. Yeah, I'll get back there yet.
Yep.
But so there is a term. I've looked it up multiple times. I cannot seem to remember the word, but it has to do with confirmation bias. But there's a word for
Yes,
it.
I remember you talking about this. Yes, there is a word for that.
There's an actual word, one word for confirmation bias.
Jade, try this. Chat GPT or Perplexity or Claude, whatever you use. What's a single word? What's a single
Pick
word
your
for,
poison.
confirmation bias?
But this would that's I would say that would
Yeah, I don't know. Prejudice, bias, cherry picking. They're not really.
it's kind of a hard word to find because I know
I'm not sure how to ask it.
I've
I
had
just
to
asked confirmation by a single word. But
what's yeah, I don't know. I know I've had some trouble finding the word before.
Anyway,
But
let us know if you find it. Have you heard him talk about this? Use this word. I think we've talked.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah.
This whole conversation seems familiar.
the way I've looked it up before is
Preconception.
the way I've looked it up before is essentially describing confirmation bias, sort of. But basically, when people find patterns, confirmation bias. It's a little different than confirmation bias, but it's basically when people find patterns to things where there aren't patterns, or people draw connections between things that are not connected.
Oh, right.
Where am I
They
getting
see
confirmation
they see
bias
connections
from?
where they don't exist, or
See, I think
argue.
Correlation, causation. Thing.
yeah, maybe just type in what's it called when people see patterns or connections between things that don't exist.
Yes,
It'll come up with it.
that's sounding familiar now.
Confirmation bias is it's not that.
No, but
But
it's related.
Yeah. Anyway, but my dad does this a lot. And so you will know me. I think it's safe to say that you probably view me as a bit of a logical person.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how I come off, but that's how I would say that's my goal.
Yeah.
I don't even know that I'm trying to be that way.
I would call you like reasonable. Like things have to make sense, and more than just like they have to make sense in the physical reality. They can't just be whatever my imagination says they are. Type of that's how it would
Right.
sort of strike me. Yep.
And
Is this a normal word? Like, is it a word you would use?
No.
Like, there's like a psychological term.
what is it?
Apophenia.
Yeah, apophenia.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one I was looking for.
Interesting.
Yeah, apophenia. What does it say about it?
The tendency to perceive meaningful patterns or connections in random or meaningless data.
Yeah.
And then pareidolia is when you see a specific image or face in random stimuli.
Maybe we can just
That
in edit we can just pull
Put
up a
that- yeah.
definition.
would be like seeing a face in clouds.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Gotcha.
I don't know if the mic picked up any of that though.
I don't know. We'll put it in.
Yeah.
Fix it in post.
So for example, my dad's idea of the reason why all of the families got kicked off the land stems back to my sister not voting for Debbie having a cat.
Yep.
But my dad, see, that wasn't given as a reason for why the families were told to leave,
Oh.
right? No one said that was the reason. He assumes. But he also told me that since that wouldn't be, so his thought was Wayne needed to find a way to get Asina off the land. But obviously, he can't just send her away. He'd have to send her whole family. And then if she was gone, then technically the vote would be unanimous.
Yep.
And so then she could get her cat.
Yep.
This is very convoluted in a way. But I suppose his thought was, well, then he needs a reason to send
Your family away.
our family away. And I suppose the thought was that there really wasn't a good reason to just send us away. But if he could, I guess, use the excuse, I don't know, the kids were, I don't know, just being too rowdy. I don't know, just not conducive for the spiritual peace of, I don't know, cohesive environment. I don't know. Who knows? Then, so therefore, all the families with kids should just leave. But it was also around the time, well, see, that's the thing. I don't know when. No. See, when people came out, so when they filmed the first documentary, we were living out there.
Mhm.
That might actually give me an idea of when we actually moved off. Because I don't remember the exact year that we moved away. But when they filmed the first documentary, we were living out there. And then I wasn't featured. In fact, if you watch it, which I wasn't interesting enough. I wasn't involved enough, which is probably good. But in fact, if you watch it, like I can spot myself, but it's like the back of my head or something in like one or two frames,
Gotcha.
one or two clips. So like basically wasn't in it. But and the guy that filmed it, he came out and lived there for like 3 weeks among us. And I actually called someone recently who is still living out there.
You did?
Yeah,
Interesting.
because I was asking about some other stuff. I was wanting some information on. And it was a lady. I probably won't say her name, but just to keep her,
Yeah.
give her some privacy. But I did ask her. I said, I don't know exactly how much, you want to say, or if there's a question that you don't want to answer, but I asked her what all. Well, I asked her what's going on at this point out there, which her answer was that. Well, she said that originally the church's sort of goal was to get close to God. She had another way of saying it, but to become close to God. And then she said things got complicated and everything, and with the whole, and this is sort of her terminology, with the trial and Messiah and all that. And now things have kind of shifted back to, I guess, being close to God, I suppose.
I see. So he's not necessarily people aren't necessarily calling him Messiah anymore.
Well,
It's more of a prophet or something.
I did ask about Michael. I asked it if he was still around.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how to word it. And she said he was, which apparently now he has a third name, which is Faithful. But she referred to him as, I forget exactly how she said it, but she did kind of refer to him as a prophet. So I don't know.
Interesting.
I guess he's moved away from the Messiah thing, and I don't know anything more about it.
Interesting.
So, but she told me about the website, and
Okay.
she thought I should read some of the stuff on there, and I might just to see what's up.
Yeah.
But oh, we were talking about moving. Oh,
Well,
the guy.
the coward.
Yeah,
I think that's what
we've gotten a little way away from that.
Okay.
But so this filmmaker guy, he was out there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really have anything more to say on that actually, but I guess we were still living out there when that took place.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when, because I think that came out in 06. Because, or maybe it was around the 06, 07 area because it was.
Because they I remember this. They came back to film The End, which was October 31, 2007. And I know they were gone
Okay.
for several months between.
That's right. That's right. I forgot. The End of the World.
Yep.
So we were living off the land at that point, but we were still associated with it. So we came back for that
Mm.
because I remember we were in a tent, and I was trying to put this together here the other day. I was like, why do I remember us being in a tent? But why would we be in a tent on the land? Like,
Right.
why not just be in our fifth wheel? Well, it's
'Cause
it's because we'd moved away.
Yep.
So we came back, and for this event, we were in a tent. But yeah, the world was supposed to end.
Yep.
And I remember, I do remember thinking, I didn't really want it to end because I wanted to keep living, and life seemed interesting a little bit.
Yeah. Yep.
I also, I do remember, interestingly enough, I mean, this is a little interesting, and maybe it's just because you sort of have all thoughts at once in some ways. But I was amongst a group of people who believed that the world was going to end on this day, and we're out there, right?
Yep.
Like, we weren't going. The idea was we wouldn't wake up. When we went to bed,
We'll go to bed and you
go
wouldn't
to
wake up.
bed, and there wouldn't be a tomorrow. And I remember having doubt that would actually happen. And I suppose it's somewhat just from I mean, there's never been such a
Right.
thing.
Right. Right.
Every time you go to bed, you wake,
wake
up.
up,
So
every
in some
time.
ways, it was just like, well, how can that not happen? So you sort of maybe just doubt
Yeah.
naturally a little bit. But yeah, we woke up.
Man, that had to have been a disappointment.
Well, I suppose for some people.
Right.
But so when they came out and filmed, they weren't allowed on the property. So there are two different gates. There's a road that drives past the property, and there are two different. There's a north gate and a south gate. I think that's how we referred to them too, north and south gate. And so the night of the 31st, which is the end of the world day, I guess. I guess for the, I don't know exactly what inspired people to do this or what took place, but everyone got together. I'm not entirely sure how it was organized. There was also, I remember now, there was also some sort of horn during this event, like one that you blow into and it makes a noise, like
Yep.
like a ram's horn or something like that.
Yep.
Someone had one, and I remember that there was I believe it was used at some point. I don't know if it was. I don't know about during this not at this night, but maybe leading up to. I don't know, or maybe it was just some other time. But we all decided to go on a walk. It was nighttime, and we walk down the road to the south gate. We go out the south gate, and we walk along Lake Highway, I believe it is called.
Okay.
And then we just went up to the north gate and went back onto the property. So we just walked along the county road and on the county road is the news crew
Yep.
and also the sheriff's department.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they called the sheriff's department which they weren't allowed on the property. No one was.
Yep.
But and I suppose fair as a fair concern, but since we, with what other cults have done, we were predicting the end of the world and we were shutting ourselves off on this piece of property. They thought we were going to kill ourselves.
Yep.
And I remember, like, during this whole thing, before we went to bed and all that, before we realized that the end of the world didn't happen, like, I heard about, like, I picked up on whoever told me or whatever. I picked up on that they thought we were going to
Yep.
kill ourselves.
Yep.
And I remember I thought it was funny because we didn't have such a plan.
Right. Right.
So it was humorous. But anyway, and then we were shouting liberty and everything. I mean, it's all in the documentary.
Yep. Yep.
But also, and I'm not sure exactly. I don't know if it was just our family type of thing or I think it was more than that. But people took they cut out these rectangles on construction paper. That's what we called it. It basically just colored
Yep.
paper. Yeah.
Thick colored paper. Yep.
Yeah. And then with a marker we would write liberty on it. And I don't know what we did with them after that, but that was something that we did during this time.
Yep.
And when I moved here to South Dakota, this just tells you how much I'm a bit of a hoarder. I went through a whole bunch of my stuff back in Oregon,
Mm-hmm.
and I had 2 of those pieces of paper still.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I took a picture. I actually have a picture of them, but then I threw them away.
Interesting.
So that was yeah.
That is interesting.
Anyway, cowardly.
Yes.
Let's get back on that.
Let's.
So my dad he was very I don't know if strict is the right word, but so Saturday was our Sabbath. Saturday was our
Mm-hmm.
worship day, you could say. And it was treated very much, well, I suppose just sort of like it was biblically treated, which also is sort of, I think, how the Jews would treat it
Yep.
still.
Seventh-day Adventists.
Yeah, I don't. Well, okay, so Craig.
Yep.
Do they quit working Friday night?
Yep.
Okay, so it must be okay. So, well, yeah, I guess for context, both my parents grew up. Actually, I think pretty much, maybe not exclusively everyone, but most,
Yep.
if not everyone, in this church grew up Seventh-day Adventist.
Yep.
And both my folks grew up Seventh-day Adventist. So I am a little uncertain. So there was heavy Seventh-day Adventist influence in this church because everyone's ex Seventh-day Adventist. So I'm a little uncertain as to what is Seventh-day Adventist tradition or whatever
Right.
versus what was this church.
Yep.
I mean, obviously there's things that are obvious, but my dad took it very serious. He liked to have the house cleaned every Friday before the Sabbath. And then yeah, we would no more work or anything come sundown. But then Saturday night, once it got dark, I guess things
Yep.
could resume.
Sabbath is over.
Yeah. And on Saturday, like nothing fun could happen. No fun could be no one could be having fun.
Yep.
And there were times when he loved doing what he called quiet time, having quiet time, which maybe that's a term that isn't exclusively used by him, but I don't really hear many other people use it. But he would have his quiet times where he would just sit and ponder, or sit and talk to God, I guess would be how he would put it. And so he'd get a lot of thoughts from this, and then he'd also read the Bible and stuff. But there were times when he would have us kids do it, which we're young, we don't really have any interest in doing that, and also it's hard to keep a kid sitting still.
Yeah.
But there would be times when he would want us to just sit, and like I remember the one time, and I'm sure it happened more than once, but I have a distinct memory of one time where he had us, I believe all of us kids, we're supposed to sit, and have some quiet time, and we couldn't get up, and we had to do it until God told us something. Well, I mean, you're a kid.
Crazy.
You're a kid, and you don't want to sit there forever. So what are you gonna do?
Make it up.
Make something up. So,
That's crazy.
and then he would get on to, like, he would talk to us. He would kind of lecture in a way. And it would go on for hours, literal hours.
Oh wow. Really?
Yeah. And if you argued at all with what he was saying, it only extended it further.
Wow.
And so I learned to just sit
Just shut up.
and shut up. And just hope that he would be done soon. And it was kind of interesting because I also learned that if you sort of, nod and sort of kind of casually agree or whatever,
I could shorten it up too.
it could shorten it up a little bit, because then he thought you were receptive, I guess.
Yep.
And so I would, and it's interesting because in some ways I was going along with it, but I also believed it. And well, it would depend on, I guess, what it was.
Yeah.
But there was a lot that I emulated, I guess you could say. Took on a lot of him that I emulated, or his
Yep.
ideas, I guess. But this behavior I view as cowardice, because I didn't stand up for, like, if I had a disagreement with him, I didn't voice it. And it turned into just letting him talk and not ever standing up for myself. And this went on until after I was married.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, look, you were a child. How would you have, like, I mean,
Well, okay, well, fair. And so to say that it was cowardice behavior would be, I think, a correct way of describing it isn't necessarily to say that I had an alternative or whatever. I mean, I suppose there maybe was some sort of alternative, but like I'm not necessarily
Oh.
judging myself per
Gotcha,
se,
gotcha.
but
Okay,
I
okay.
also don't like that I did it.
Gotcha.
Or yeah, I don't know. It's just it is what it is. But I don't like it. So but it seeped into all of our interactions pretty much after that. Cuz like once so whatever, we can get back to the timeline at some point, but once I lived in Oregon and once I wasn't living with my dad, like I dreaded phone calls
No.
because of how long they could be. Because he would just go on and on with his stuff. And so, yeah, I avoided any sort of interaction. Well, in person wasn't as bad. Like I wouldn't, yeah, in person wasn't too bad, but you could probably count on it happening. Him getting on, he'd all of a sudden get onto his stuff, and it's like maybe I could have shortened it up, but at this point, like my habit was just to just not say anything, and so he'd just keep talking, and then yeah, whatever. So but yeah,
That's interesting.
I'm sure there's more to
Well,
say about it, but
I'm kind of curious. When you first started talking about this, a reminder of the was fact check this, Jay, but the way I understand it is that during World War II, the Japanese, they would take the prisoners and blast propaganda into their ears 24/7, and it turned those guys.
I
And
th-
there's something about this garbage that even a grown man, when you have propaganda just now for you it wasn't ever 24/7, but it was for years. Like I mean, it's interesting to say you don't get hard you're not really hard on yourself about this, but that trash is like it's powerful, unfortunately, of the effect it can have on people. And so that's I mean, so was your dad just going on rants, or was he actually? Did he? Was he hoping to try to drive something into you? Maybe don't have a good sense of that.
no, he definitely wanted, like, because there was an element of, because he would do this as a family too, even with my mom. There was definitely an element of we needed to think this way. Like God was telling him these sorts of things, and we needed to be on board with it too, type thing. And like with my mom, she just needed to cooperate and all this sort of thing. And what I will say about the relationship between my dad and my mom is my dad is very controlling in a kind of way. Like maybe not universally, but
Yeah,
he would be controlling. And my mom would be she is difficult. So in my dad's defense, my mom is very difficult.
yeah,
Like I don't have much of a relationship with my mom. And I don't have any desire to.
right.
And she sort of feels that because I never talked to her. I don't. Yeah, there's zero effort
Yep.
on my part, and there's not really just a whole lot of effort on her part either, to be honest. But she thinks that she's done something to offend me or
Oh,
something, or I don't know, and or she thinks that maybe I'm disgruntled by our past or something, and I'm not. I I've just moved on, if that makes sense. Like when I moved to South Dakota, my goal for moving here was to move away from everyone and start my own life.
so I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you about that because I think if I remember correctly, in the past you've talked about and you mentioned or you referenced it now a little bit. You sort of bought into some of this stuff that your dad was saying.
Like for quite a while. Yeah.
So what happened that you decided this guy? I've got to get away from this. What was the breaking point of I've got to get out of here?
Well, to give you a little perspective on how I thought or how my thoughts differed from his or how they didn't differ. So when let's backtrack a little bit to when I was up in Washington for 6 months. Beth, my younger sister, that's when I heard that she was considering joining the church. Obviously my dad was against this idea. And
To clarify, she was talking about joining the Mennonite
yeah,
church,
yeah, I suppose
not the
that
LOR
is
church.
relevant. Yeah, the Mennonite church. And like I felt dread about this decision. I was like, I didn't know what to do. I was like, no.
Can't have this.
Yeah. Like how my dad felt is kind of like, I mean, I don't know if exactly, but basically, yeah, I was disappointed. I was like almost frantic in a way, like this can't happen. And so then I moved back down there. And like I'm okay with the Mennonites. Like I don't have a grudge against them or anything at
Yeah.
this point. Like I don't have anything against them. But they aren't well at this point. Like I grew up where Saturday is the Sabbath.
Yep.
And here are these people who for no reason worship on Sunday.
Yep.
And it's like, well, it's not even biblical.
Right.
And like this is completely ingrained into me, right?
Yep.
Even to this day, I'm not entirely sure what the basis is for Sunday.
Right.
But this is, a huge contention point. And they're just not, I don't know. It's just, that's not the way to go. I don't know what is the way to go, but it's not this.
Right.
I don't think. My dad's against it. And that's pulling me one way, making me feel a certain way. Like making, like I feel, it's very interesting because the only way I could probably describe it would be conflicted emotions. Like largely siding with my dad.
Yep.
But I also sort of want to break away from that. Because
you sort of sensed this at the time.
Yeah. Like, well, I think like for years, this dynamic between me and my dad, like I felt sort of trapped.
Oh.
But I also, because, influence.
Right.
This has led me to say the influence is, I mean,
yeah.
out of everything.
Yes.
Out of everything that has happened, I have experienced influence.
Yes.
And influence is extremely powerful.
Yes.
So the people out on the land were greatly influenced, and I was influenced by my dad. So I took on what
Yes.
his beliefs were.
Yes.
Maybe not entirely, but broadly speaking.
Yep.
So, and I knew that, and I don't know, like it's it's hard to say exactly where the line was. Like in some ways, I didn't like. Yeah, I didn't like the like I for sure didn't like the fact that of being passive. Like when we talk and all
Yeah.
this sort of thing. I was just I was passive. I didn't like that. There were things I didn't agree with, or at least, well, okay. You also have to sort of take into consideration that my dad had prediction after prediction of things that God was going to do for us, give us, all this sort of thing.
And they okay.
Promises that God made to him. And time after time after time, they did not come true. And so you can kind of understand why I had doubts.
Yep. Man, this guy's losing
But
it.
but he like I cannot tell you how many times. So in the times when he would talk to me, he would go over things like I've probably heard things hundreds of times, because it wouldn't be like new stuff every time. It'd be
Just
like
the same.
it'd be like he'd be talking about this, and then he would be like, and then he'd bring in this dream, that God, and then he would go over how the dream, and then he would try to map the dream out on where we were in life. Like he had this one dream where he was walking along this road, and he was with a woman, and he stumbled, and I may be shortening the dream up a little bit. And he stumbles, and she keeps him from falling on the ground. And this happens like 3 different times. And there's also different women in the dream, I think, unless I'm conflating it with another dream. And so the stumbling represents low spots in his life, is what he figures. And there's definitely another dream where he's like driving a vehicle, and there's a woman behind him that like reaches forward and I think grabs the steering wheel and runs him off the road.
Oh boy.
And I think that's supposedly his first wife, because he was married 3 times. Anyway, so there's a few dreams, and you would think I would remember them verbatim at this point, but I don't.
At this point, they're just sort of a hum. Yep.
So anyway, and then so then it would be he would say, like, this is where we're at in this dream or whatever. But then things would change and what have you, and then he'd be like, well, and I got it wrong. This is where we're at now, or whatever. Just stuff like this.
Yep.
The goalpost is always being moved
Yep.
in some ways, or not really the goalpost, really, but so I definitely doubted that these things would happen, but being that they were talked about so much,
Yep.
that there was always a little bit of hope. Maybe.
Maybe it's coming yet. It's probably.
And we did go to Hawaii. That was the only thing that happened. Because that was a step in. That was one of the dream things, right? We actually did that one. But what was a little different about that one is we weren't waiting on God necessarily to make that happen. Where there was a lot of other stuff that were a little out of human power, unless you had maybe tons of money or something, you know. Like there's there's a hotel or resort over in Hawaii that during one of the hurricanes it got destroyed, called Coco Palms.
Okay.
It's, I think, in Kapa'a, unless it's unless there's like another little town that's connected to, I kind of forget. I think it's in Kapa'a. Unless it's a little bit like Burns and Hines type thing, where it's like two towns that look like one, but they're
Oh.
two.
Yep.
But so it got destroyed by this hurricane, and it had insurance for that, but then it didn't have insurance for the rain that comes after, I guess. I don't know. That seems like a bit of an oversight, but so it gets destroyed, and I guess they just don't have the money to renew it or rebuild it.
Mm-hmm.
But and it was actually pretty popular. Like Elvis Presley would have
Oh.
performed there or stayed there or whatever. Really nice place. If you can look past the rundown nature of the
Yeah.
whole thing. But anyway, but at some point, God was going to give us this place, and he'd also somehow give us the money to fix it up. So there was a few things like that where it's like, well, we can't just do that, and that we have to have, I don't know, something take place.
Copious cash.
Yeah, like I think it would, like we would have probably had to have several hundred million.
Wow.
I think I heard a number such as like 100 million to buy it as it was. I don't know if that's true.
Wow.
But yeah.
Anyway, so but the point being, but on all this is you got pretty disillusioned by the missed prophecies,
Right.
and that's the thing that started planting the doubt, and that's the thing that sort of tipped you to the point where, like, I'm getting sucked into a hole that I can't escape. Is that sort of the deal? Where, like, I'm not even in control of my own self, and these predictions aren't coming true.
Well, I don't know if I don't know that I ever really, the thought of escape. Like I don't think I didn't really, that idea was sort of almost unattainable. Like I didn't even know, I wouldn't have known, I didn't know what to do. Like it, to the point that so we'll skip ahead here a bit in the timeline, but at some point my whole family was living in Oregon,
Yeah.
and I was staying with my dad, and he did tree work, but tree work for him has always been hit and miss. Like we grew up extremely humble, financially speaking. We definitely didn't have extra. And so that was, that didn't change much when he was living in Oregon there. So we weren't even, so I would just help him with that. At this point I would have been, this would have been in 2015,
Yeah.
and so I would have been 19, I guess, somewhere in there. 19, 20. And so I was just helping him at this point in the, and where we are and where things are in this, at this point in history. I was just helping him out with tree work, and we weren't doing tree work every day. So there'd be days when we just wouldn't do anything. And well, you can't get anywhere when you're working part-time. Right?
Gotcha.
and I was just helping him, and I don't even really remember, but I suppose he was paying me something. I don't even remember what the situation was really, but like I didn't know where my life was going at this point because I didn't really see a way out. And there was actually a period of time where I kind of just accepted it because I was fighting against it. And it got to the point where I had the thought, and I think I had this thought previously, but I sort of fought against it because I didn't like the idea. But it was the thought that, like, look at Jesus, look at how he lived his life. Like he didn't have a job and he didn't have anything.
Hmm.
Like, societally speaking, like positionally in society, he was a loser.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe I don't know how society was quite back then, but probably not much different. He wasn't holding down a job. He was kind of a homeless man.
Yep.
So were his disciples.
Yep.
They just sort of wandered around.
Yep.
And so, like, yeah, I mean, and it's like, okay, well, Jesus wasn't here to build a life, right? I mean, that wasn't his purpose.
Yep.
But I started thinking that I just need to accept that maybe
That's my life.
that's my life. I won't really have anything. I won't really go anywhere. Jesus didn't. So like maybe that's what God wants you to do is to just I don't know, just
Being nobody.
yeah, just not. I mean, because in some ways, like that, like, can you get more? Can you be in more of a humbling position? And if you're, and yeah, I don't know. It's just, and it just wasn't happening. So it's like, well, maybe this is just what God wants for me. I don't know. And I kind of just accepted it, and somewhat embarrassingly so. I don't know what what made or what inspired me or whatever to do this, but I typed up like this paragraph or so on our family chat, sort of making said claim, and then sent it on the family chat, which in hindsight is a little weird, but I don't quite remember. I think there maybe I don't even remember if there was anyone that said it. I think maybe Asina maybe made some sort of comment or maybe my mom probably. I don't know. But it was kind of like it felt like it was I was fighting against like this is how I grew up. This was the current situation that I was in, and I sort of had been fighting against the idea, and then it was finally like I'll just accept it. And I don't think it was too much longer. Too much time had. I don't think it was much longer. That's not the right way to say that. Soon after that, I believe, is when I got a call. Well, I think it was from Beth actually, who was living over in Burns, which for context was about 2.5 hours away from
Yep.
where I was. To she thought I should come over there, which is where the rest of my family was living, and build sheds at the barn shop. Which was kind of a tough decision to make, because on one hand I was like, it was an actual job, which I'd never had before.
Yep.
But I had to leave my dad, which whatever, like I moved around enough that
Yep.
in one way it was like it didn't mean anything. There wasn't necessarily anything permanent about said
Yep.
choice. But also I was going to go do a job, which meant I would be making money, which meant that was different. Things would potentially change.
There would be a way out.
And so, but also, so at this point, both my sisters were joined to the Mennonite church. And this shop, this shed building shop, was being run by Mennonites. And I didn't, I mean, due to the influence from my dad, I didn't have any interest in becoming a Mennonite. And so going to work with them, I knew that I would be influenced by them.
Yep.
And so I was, that was in my mind a little bit when thinking about this. But ultimately, I decided to go do it. So then I moved back there, and then I was living with my mom. We've skipped over some of the moves,
Yep.
but that's fine. It's not quite as important. But, and that does mark the first step towards independence, I guess. That there.
Well, look. So this is actually, and so this is very interesting because we sort of made it through the first, a sort of a couple of sagas of your life. Like, we kind of got you to, we've talked about your story up until the point where you sort of kind of made the decision, and the beginning of sort of the, I don't want to use the word escape, but sort of in a it's kind of some. It sounds like you sort of made a choice to try something else, and
Mhm.
sort of the it was, and that does seem to be sort of the decision that quite drastically changed the course of your life from that moment, kind of. And so, I think what we're going to do is we're going to stop and call this part one, and we'll do another one, and we'll talk about this decision more. Um, because I'm actually quite I had never actually heard this part of your story in this context. This is actually very interesting to me because um, this comes back to one of the big things that I have been. One of the reasons I've been doing this podcast is I'm fascinated by how people come to believe what they do, and there was there's the things you believed about yourself, the things you believed to be true. You believed that this wasn't a way of escape, but all of a sudden, or you sort of believe that this was my life, but then something made you believe that there's more, and so that's part of the reason why this is very fascinating to me. So we'll stop here, and then we'll come back. We'll do another one, and we'll talk about the rest of it. So anyway, thanks a lot for coming and talking to me. I'm quite fascinated by this, and so yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's definitely more to talk
Yeah,
about. I guess if it's interesting.
yeah, we sure will.